All right, yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 3 p.m. here in Chicago, May 27th, Wednesday. How are you guys doing today? I am very tired. I am super tired. I have been, fortunately, I've been able to nap this morning, so that's been really good. I'll give everyone a minute to come in here before we really dive into the episode for the day. But there, I can't reach that one. Otherwise, I'd close that one too. Am I back? I think I'm back. Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. So, we got 50,000 subscribers on the channel last night. And so, I wanted to try and time the 50K run since there wasn't a race for me to run anymore. I wanted to try to. All right. I mean, I would say third time's a charm, but this is, I think, already the fifth time. Hopefully, guys, it's working okay for you. I'm back, but did the 50K run this morning. And it was a long run. It was a very long run, and I'm very tired. Fortunately, today wasn't too busy of a day for either my daughter in terms of her schoolwork, and in terms of like my wife's schedule is a little bit easier. So I was able to take a couple of little cat naps today. The baby even took a cat nap today, which is amazing because she never takes naps. So I think it was just a tired day in our house. But thanks everybody for all the kind words. Michael, Shannon, Stevie76 says, happily to the silver button. Shannon says, wow, way to go on the 50K. Thank you very much. In his Dunbar says, great running today, but how's the dog? Thank you for asking. I think he's doing okay. I mean, I should be picking him up soon from the vet. So after the live stream here, I'll go to pick him up. I dropped him off this morning to get his eye removed because he's having problems there. Spence Ohm says, who is also watching the NASA SpaceX launch are probably hogging on the YouTube's live stream. Maybe that's it. Is it being broadcast on YouTube? I was trying to figure out how I could watch it because I mean, the launch is scheduled for 4:30 Eastern time, so I think that means that's 3:30 here, so like pretty soon. But everyone's probably still watching right now, so yeah, I didn't realize. I knew it was going to be this afternoon, but for some reason I didn't do like the Eastern time zone, Central time zone conversion. So I didn't realize I'd be like competing with a historic space launch. But yeah. Mark Rainey says, what does the Kofuzi run cycle look like? Uh, Baseball has a single, double, triple home run in one game. Kofuzi nap, get a live stream working, and a 50K or anything more than or equal to 20 miles and a beer. That's the one thing I haven't had yet is a beer, because I had to go drive right away, and so like it would have felt I think really good to do that, but I had some other things, a couple of errands I had to take care of. Chris Fair says, congrats on the 50K. I was super pumped for you when I saw it on the Instagram this morning. Yeah, so for the Instagram this morning, I tried to time it. I had no idea how fast I'd be able to run it. And especially given my level of training, which I've been running, but I haven't trained for this distance at all. So, yeah, so I had no idea. I started the run at 1:45 in the morning thinking, all right, maybe by like the 6 o'clock live stream. So I gave myself like 4 hours and 15 minutes. I was like, maybe that's enough time. And yeah, but it ended up not being enough because after like after 14 miles, I was like, yeah, 8-minute miles, that's not going to happen. Because I hadn't been running 8-minute miles already at that point. And so I was like, I'm just going to kind of cruise in to the finish. And then at like 6 o'clock, I still had like 5K left. So I did like my live stream. And I even got myself GoPro footage of myself doing my live stream, which was kind of all sorts of goofy, especially since there was a lot of people out by then at like 6 o'clock in the morning. There was a lot of people out today at 6. And everyone was like looking around like, what is this guy doing? Because I was running in the middle of the road because there's people on the sidewalk. Not in the middle, but on the road. Selfie stick in one hand, Instagram live stream in the other, talking at it with a pack on. It was just all sorts of funny. And then by the time I got done, all my neighbors from my floor were outside walking their dogs at the same time. So I was just like, Okay, but it was a lot of fun. I was happy to get it done. Farah, I saw you're in here. Um, she said, as I was kind of rambling on and on, where did that go? Need a celebratory beer tonight? Yes, for sure. Once I go pick up the dog and come back, then I will have one. Um, yeah, but it was good. It was good. It was very um, weird to run that early in the morning. I thought the run would be a little bit more kind of like contemplative, thinking about like, the channel and all that stuff. But instead, I was just kind of like, oh, this is a hard run. I need to like focus on the run. And I was like trying to think of ways to keep myself like motivated to keep moving and all that stuff. So it was tough. It was tough. I think a lot of it has to kind of like sink in, I guess. Cody says, "What was your nutrition like for the 50K run?" So I had not filled. I had about 32 ounces of liquid with me, and I had Unibed, the drink mix, in there. And then I brought 5 gels. I ended up eating 4. One of the gels that I ate was that I took a picture of it and put it on Instagram. Um, it was a Martin, but it was when Martin did the unofficial, where it was just like the generic packaging, like no packaging, and it was all puffy, like super inflated. And I was like, this for sure has gone rancid. Like the only reason it be puffy is because there's bacteria in there eating the sugars and they're expelling like CO2. And that's why it's puffy. But yesterday I tested one. I had a whole bunch of them left over. I tested one and I squeezed it out just to see the color first. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. To see the color first, and then I tasted just a little bit and it seemed fine. So then I ate that. So that was one of them. And I had 2 Unibed Elite gels, the bigger ones, 1 Unibed regular gel, and then a Cliff Shots. I had a 5th one that was the Goo Roctane, but I ended up not eating it. Mac Universe says, "Do you run on rainy days? If it's warm, like cold rain is kind of like my like, you know, I used to be a lot tougher, and I used to be like anything as long as it's not lightning or a tornado. But now, if it's cold and rainy, that's kind of usually gets me sick, and especially now these days, I don't want to be getting cold. And it's one of my biggest concerns of doing a run this long that I'm not used to, is that like, all right, what is this going to do to my overall immune health? But I took 2 naps today, and we'll take it easy tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be all right. Someone mentioned earlier like the start time was insane. Yeah, 1:45. Let me tell you, 2 o'clock running at 2 o'clock in the morning in Chicago is very different than running at 5 o'clock in the morning in Chicago. So I'm normally out like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and that's one thing. The city's very sleepy. It's a lot of people that like. There's still a lot of people out. Not a lot, but there's people out. But it's 4 or 5 in the morning. At 2, there's still people out from like I don't know where they're going or where they're coming from, but like um, there was a lot of people out, and it was a little bit unnerving at times. But yeah. Um, Nathan N says, "I found that when I have pizza the night before my morning run, I run faster." I've been debating that theory as well. I did have pizza for dinner, like homemade pizza, but I had pizza for dinner last night, and we had spaghetti the night before. So I'd been carb loading, and then on Monday, the Monday mukbang, we tasted a whole bunch of different sport drinks, and so I had a whole bunch of stuff left over. So I've been kind of carb loading the past 2 nights. So Shannon Sykes says, "No real food. I forced the gels, but wanted fruit and my broken cup Cliff Bar." A broken up Cliff Bar. No, I didn't have any real food with me. I found though that like I had the Roctane and I had the Cliff, and I was just like, I do not want to chew anything right now. I needed more water than I had brought with me because it was 75 degrees and humid when I started. Not terribly humid, but humid enough. So like basically, as soon as you got outside and started moving, I was instantly sweating, and I wish I had brought more liquid. But because I was thirsty, like I did not want to chew anything or like eat like a goopy gel. Um, but so like I was like, I wish I had just brought 5 like Unived gels because those are like very liquidy, almost too. A lot of times I worry that I feel like they're too liquidy. But then like as I was hot and like really tired today, I was like, oh, I can't wait to have another one. So those were really good to me today. Thomas Anderson asks, "Hey, what are the laces that you use in your Pegasus 37 videos?" That was when I did it Nike by You, like the way you can customize them. But in the beginning, like the first week that the Peg 37s came out, you could only get like the launch colors, or you could customize it if you did Fly Ease. So Fly Ease is their way of like if you have a hard time getting shoes on, there's different technologies that Nike has. And if you customize a Fly Ease version, then you can customize yours right away. So that's what I did. But I didn't have to do the one that has like it's like a strap or a dial. I think, no, I think it's Saucony that does the dial. I think Solomon has a dial system too. But there's also, I think there's like a strap that you use with Nike. But you didn't have to do that. I could do the speed laces. So that's how I did the laces. Um, Kevin Scott said 50K while getting up at 1 a.m. That's extreme. Well done for still being alive right now. Yeah, thank you. Uh, I only got like 3 hours of sleep too, because I didn't go to bed till like 9:30. So 9:40 or so to like my alarm went off at 1:10. So however many hours that is. So 10:40, 11:40, 3.5 hours, something like that. Yeah, not a lot of sleep. Um, Sumail Sampat says, "How do you run in too much humidity like in Mumbai?" I've never had the pleasure of going. I can't imagine how hot it is there. When you say something's hot, like I mean, you might be one of those people that there's no one that can say something's hotter. But whenever I say like, "Oh, it's hot out there," or whenever I say, "Oh, it's cold out there," there's always like the people that are like, "That's not hot. This is hot," you know. So like hot and cold are relative. And so when people tell me, "Oh, you ran in like sub-zero Fahrenheit today, that's cold," I'm like, people run in colder. But when you're running in heat and humidity, one is it takes time to get acclimated. And two, there are certain things that you could do if you want to really race well in it. If it's something racing is something you want to do, a lot of times you probably don't need to do it, but people that don't live in heat and humidity like in Mumbai, will put like their bike trainers or treadmills inside like a sauna. I don't think that's very safe. I would only do that under the supervision of a trainer. Like if you have someone that's like can stand outside the thing, so in case you pass out, they can come pick you up. But I would say acclimate yourself and build up slowly and steadily. So I don't think there's any rushing to acclimate to that. Um, Another one says, "Thanks to you, I've been more motivated in running, but so sad I just had my wisdom teeth removed, all four." Well, that's tough. Do they still people still take out all four at a time? I don't remember. I only had two of mine taken out, and they were like, luckily it's on the same side because then it's easier to eat because you can figure out one. Oh, DW Running says SpaceX launch weather scrub. Oh, that's a bummer. It's a bummer. I had like that thing had my imagination going because they were supposed to go up to the space station that hasn't. There's no one been in there for 10 years, right? Is that what is that? Am I right on that? I thought I heard that on the news. Can you imagine going into something? I don't like going into spaces that haven't been like the windows haven't been opened in a couple of months. Like I said, I'm like, oh, it's so musty in there. It's gross. Can you imagine a space station? Like that's older than I mean 2000. That means 2010. The iPhone had only just come out. We were still iPhone didn't have copy paste yet. That's how long 10 years ago was, right? So like, can you imagine like trusting your life to a box in not outer space but in space, that is that old, that has iPhone 3G, no copy paste technology? Oh, okay. DW say no, it's not true. It's we've not launched in the USA in 10 years. Okay, all right. It's had a crew in it. It's been 9 years since the last US launch with a crew. Okay, all right. That is much less concerning. Oh man, I totally had that fact wrong, but still, that's a long time since the U.S. launch. But yeah, it's a bummer that it was scrapped, because I think it would have been nice to have my girls see that, you know, just have like a different generation of children get inspired by a space launch. I think is pretty cool. I mean, whether that's like, you know, in the big scheme of things, a fruitful use of our money in terms of how expensive that is, but I think, you know, there are important aspects to it as well. Hanzo asks, "How tall are you?" I'm 5'10". I don't know how many centimeters that is. 5'10", a little bit under 6 feet. Derek Dixon says, I admire that you kept the plans on the 50K quiet. I remember someone asked you about the distance a few streams back. Yeah, I mean, you guys were asking a lot about it. And so I kept dancing around it and trying to change the subject really fast anytime it happened. CJ Cruz says, what's the rehydration plan besides beer? I drank, when I got home, my wife had been like waiting for me to come back. She was worried about me. And she wanted to congratulate me when I made it back. She got me like 20 ounces of 3 times 20 ounces of like ice water, and I just chugged it, and I still felt thirsty afterwards, but I was getting full. So I did that. I drank as much water as I could, and then since then I've been drinking like just electrolyte tablets. So I've been drinking that Science and Sport one that I tasted on the channel on Monday. When it's ice cold, it's a lot better. I like that one, but it has a good kind of like, sodium, potassium, and some other electrolytes profile. It has some B6 in it, things like that. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I have not been eating all that well today. I wasn't hungry for a long time, which is really weird because most runs, I'm hungry like right away. Like I'm thinking about food as I'm finishing, but today I wasn't hungry at all, and I haven't really eaten very much today, which is concerning me a little bit. So I'm gonna make sure I eat a lot for dinner. Shannon says, what hurt the most? I think it was in my quads. So that's kind of where like once like my sugar started to deplete, that's where I feel it. So that was hurting the most, but I was just overall just very tired. So nothing really hurt. I felt pretty good, like body-wise, the entire time. I ran. Someone asked earlier what I ran in. I ran in the Carbon X's because I was figuring, those are the shoes that were pretty much designed for the 50K. So, or at least that was their launch event, is to run it, like to break the 50K record. And I've always felt like that shoe didn't really feel like a marathon speed shoe or like a half marathon speed shoe. It's like 50K. I was like, Carbon X, today's your day. And I felt like it was a pretty good choice for me. I liked it. Yeah, DW Running says, but gotta love that 2 crewmen that will launch today for SpaceX will be riding in Teslas out to the launch pad. That's funny. Michael Susser says, I just received my Polar H9. Do you know the main difference between the Polar Flow and the Polar Beat apps? Polar Beat, I think, only interfaces with the heart rate monitor. If you have something like the OH1 or the H10 that has memory, it loads to that. It can load up to that. Polar Flow is something that you use with watches. So I think like watches is Flow, Beat is with the heart rate monitors. That's the main difference. Patrick Funk says, let us know when you want to run 50K again. I'll unsubscribe and resubscribe and take it back below 50K, then back up to 50,000 subs. That was my big concern, is that so I tweeted about it last night. I think, it was last night, because I took a screenshot of when it hit 50,000. And then I was worried that by the morning, either, because it always ebbs and flows. People subscribe and then unsubscribe. Or that YouTube was going to pick that day to do a subscriber purge, when they figure out what are the accounts that are derelicted or what are bot accounts, that kind of thing. So I was worried about that. When I woke up, it wasn't going to be there anymore. Cody asks, have I ever tried the untapped maple syrup packets for running? Sounds really delicious to him. I have not tried that, but it does sound pretty good, maple syrup. H-Lin says, Solar Boost 19 versus AirZoom Pegasus 37 for a 5K beginner. Which one you prefer? I prefer the Pegasus 37. Well, the Solar Boost 19 is pretty good too. And it might be a little bit more cushion for 5K beginners, because there's a little bit, it just feels like there's a little bit more underfoot there, a little softer. It's close, but I'd still probably pick the Peg 37. Farah Escaloni says, are you looking to do more ultras? I'd like to do a race. I'd like to do a real one rather than me running around my neighborhood at 2 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I don't know how much longer I want to go than 50K though. And I feel like in the ultra world, 50K is like the half marathon where it's oh, you did the short one. When it's it's 50K. It's not short. but I feel like that's kind of how it's treated a lot of times. So yeah, I'll do more. I would love to be able to see what I can do like on a track. Something. I mean, I know a lot of the 50K ultras and the longer ones do laps, but something where the laps aren't as like repetitive as running just like neighborhood streets in Chicago. Um, and something where there's like other people and like the energy of a race. That's one of the first things I told my wife is like it's hard to do that and like keep moving and motivating yourself when it's like that, like it's just yourself and your headphones kind of thing. um yeah, so I'm excited to do another one. I'm not dying to up the mileage though. DW Running says Salomon Agile 2 review. It's marketed as an urban hydration pack. That's an interesting phrase. I'll take a look at that. Agile 2. Okay, I'll have to look. Matthew Lai says, do you guys know if there will be a new Zoom Fly this year? If so, do you know when? I don't think that the Zoom Fly is going to happen this year because I think the Alpha Zoom replaces it. The question that we had left open yesterday was whether there was going to be a turbo. And I think the consensus is we don't think there is going to be one, but it's weird that if there wouldn't be. CJ Cruz has a funny comment here. Carbon X1, SpaceX 0. I think that's funny. Because that's true. Vegan Goku says, hey, Mike, what shoes are you eagerly looking to try out this year? I've tried out a lot of the shoes that I've been wanting to try for 2020. Having seen some of the prototypes for the Vomero 14, and they're going to have like a big ZoomX like crash pad in the back, in the heel. That looks interesting to me. Also, I really want to try the Adizero Pro. So that's like the last one that I really want to see what's that all about. The New Balance Fuel Cell RC is also somewhat interesting to me, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be like a strong enough runner to really enjoy it. I have a feeling I'm going to be like, who's this shoe for? And I think the answer is going to be pros. So that's my suspicion with that one. Samuel Sampat says, between the Peg 37 and Nova Blast, what would you recommend for 5K, 10Ks? Your suggestion might be my next buy. I think both are good choices for that distance. It just depends on what your preferences are. The Nova Blast is super cushioned, and I think it's going to be a really great choice for a lot of people. The Peg 37 has a bunch of React foam in it, and I like React foam a lot. It feels like a faster shoe to me, although like in terms of like my numbers and my just limited anecdotal testing, the Peg 37 feels like a faster shoe, but in terms of like output per input, the two seem to be pretty similar on paper. So it's very close. It's like opposite approaches, very similar result in terms of both. Both are really good shoes. Let's see. Luis Becerra says, congrats on the 50K. Thank you. And on the subscribers. Thank you very much. Raymond Galicia says, have you gotten your hands on the ASICS Road Blast? I haven't. And I don't know that I will. We'll see. There's still so many shoes in my closet that I need to get through, and I'm not sure that I'll get to it. We'll see on that one. I'm not sure. Kyle Patton asks, so what's the status on the Escalante? Still rocking it? 100-mile review? Yeah, I'm still rocking that one. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm at about 53 miles on it so far. So I'll probably need about another week to get to 100 miles on it. I really considered it for today. I thought that it might be a very good choice for me for the 50K, just because I've been liking it so much, and I just feel like it's been an easy shoe to run in. Like I picked the Carbon X, but the runners up, the other brands in the running, or I guess for the decision, were the Nova Blast because it's so squishy. I was like, I'm gonna really want squishy when it comes to like mile 25 and up, and the Escalante because I felt like, well, like that's kind of Escalante's turf, the Ultra, right? So I'm like, I should go with that. But I ended up not. Yeah. Joan Kim asks, do you have an idea of when the Adizero Pro will be released? I thought it was supposed to be June sometime, early June, so I'm looking for it soon. I hope to get like an email or something about it at some point. Like I'm in the, whatever, like, is it Creators Club? What is it called when you sign up for like Adidas? But I get emails from them from time to time. J. Mike Remy says, cheers, I'm going to take partial credit for the solo neighborhood 50K. It's an experience that most won't have or come around ever again, I hope. COVID silver lining. Yeah, yeah. I hope no one ever has to do a neighborhood solo 50K, like on like city streets. Piet Johnson says, hey Kofuzi, love your videos. Quick question, Vomero or 1080 V10 for longer runs? I'd go with the 1080 V10. The Vomero 14 was an interesting shoe. It was React foam and a Zoom Air pocket. And so it was an interesting shoe, but it was kind of weird in some ways. The rubber lugs on the outsole were really tall for some reason. And it was like a low but wide shoe. So it's kind of shaped funny. The 1080 V10 is like a Grand Touring version of the Beacon. I just really like it. It's great for long runs. Let's see, another one here from Martha. It seems a lot of these couple shoes, like the Endorphin Pro and its relatives, Brooks Hyperion Tempo, Brooks Hyprice and Tempo. Hyperion, I think, is Elite, and Hyperion Tempo and the New Balance CCRC are resulting in lots of runners preferring the Sensible Trainer. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the year where like everyone's throwing like a little bit of spaghetti up, because like Nike changed the game a little bit and kind of upped the ante. And I think that my suspicion is a lot of these companies were like, we don't want to really completely scrap like the Kinvara line or like the Clifton line or whatever like their like mainstays are, but they wanted to try to put something new in there that gives their designers a chance to really like stretch out and not have the confines of like a heritage or a legacy in terms of design and performance. So I'm hoping that from this we see a lot of version 1. We've seen a lot of version 1 shoes. We may see a lot of version 1 only shoes. We'll see what like sticks around till next year. But I hope that also means that like we see the beginnings of like stuff that we really like the Rincon, for example. Last year was its only first year. The Beacon last year was its only first year. Those are some new examples. But for example, from like the Endorphin, like the Pro, the Shift, and the Speed, I think that they are. Who knows if there'll be Endorphin Pro 2s and Endorphin Shift 2, So there's these little like capsule, like mini collections, which I think are very interesting. But it makes it confusing. Like, I think the epitome, the height of the confusingness of it is Adidas with like, it's two parallel lines. The ones with Boost and the ones with Light Strike. Although the ones with Boost also have Light Strike, but then you've got like Adios 5 and the Boston, and then on this side you've got like the SL20 and the RC 2.0, and it's just like, where do they fit together? I don't think so. I think they're two parallel product lines, but you can kind of slot them in a little bit, so it leads to people getting real confused. But I think a lot of that will sort itself out in the next couple of years, or at least the next couple of seasons, and I think overall we'll all be the better for it. Let's see what else we got here. Christina Lopez says the Nova Blast has been a lifesaver for her. Only had them for 2 weeks, but haven't been suffering from shin splints anymore. Awesome. Bought some New Balance 1080 V10s out of curiosity. I hope you like them. They're both very cushioned shoes. The 1080 V10, I think you'll find it to be a little bit bouncier, but hopefully you get to have that pain-free running that you've been having. Bjorn Armstead says, congrats on 50K, well deserved. Here's to the next 50. Well, thank you. Let's see. DEW Rank says, any suggestions for non-high stack height long run shoes? I'm trying to think of what other shoes I've been liking for 10 to 15 miles that are not high stack height. I think that, yeah. I don't really keep too much track of what the overall stack heights are. I've been trying to report on them lately just to give people an idea of like, oh, there's a bunch of cushion in this shoe versus not a bunch of cushion in this shoe. The first one that comes to mind is like the Meta Racer, but I don't think that's just like a regular long. I mean, I guess people could use it as a regular long run shoe, but it's like kind of training companion, the Evo Ride. I don't know if I wouldn't call it a low stack height shoe, but that's when I think that could work as well. I don't know if like would like the Skechers Razor 3 count as low, like high stack out shoe, stack height shoe or not? I'm not sure. Um, I do like the Ultra Escalante. I could take that one for 10 to 15 mile long runs if they're like easy moderate. I haven't tried it too much at faster speeds, which is one of the things that I do want to test over the next handful of runs. Is like what happens when I try to run faster in it. Let's see. Joshua Ribel says just purchased 1080 V10 today, ran in them right away, and they're a fantastic shoe for him as a quote unquote heavy runner. Awesome, very cool. I'm glad you like them. Frank Lahulier says Nova Blast gets heavy after 15 miles. Okay. Good to know. Maybe it was good that I didn't try it. But I've seen Andy, like, have you guys been watching FOD Runner and talk about the Nova Blast? He just absolutely loves that shoe, and he could run like a maniac in it, no matter what he does. And so I'm like, well, maybe I can run fast in that shoe as well for 20 miles or 25 or 30 miles like I did today. Just because of what he's doing. But I also feel like he's been on a tear lately. I don't know what got into him, but he's been running like a beast. So I'm like, well, that's because he can run in anything right now. Maybe. Rory Prendeville says, what shoe would you suggest for me to get? Either the Peg 37 or the Infinity Reacts everyday use for tempo and longer runs. Well, I feel like maybe both is the answer. For your tempo runs, I think the Peg 37 is a pretty good choice. The Turbo is also a good choice there if you're sticking within Nike. And then the Infinity Reacts for your longer runs. I think you could use the Peg 37 for both as well. And the Infinity Reacts, I think, to put it this way, I think the Peg would do better at longer runs than the Infinity React would do at your tempo runs. So if you want to look at it that way, then maybe the Peg 37 out of those two. Pablo De Jesus says, Kofuzi, what's your next shoe? I actually haven't been thinking too much about it just because I have so many that deserve some more attention. But probably it'll be hopefully it'll be the Adizero Pro. That's the next one that I'm really looking forward to getting. I'm not super excited about the other Endorphin series shoes, but maybe that'll change as I put more miles in the Pro. I've not given that one nearly enough attention either. James Manguba says, training for our first marathon, only have Ghost Brooks 12 right now. Turbo 2s for a second pair of tempo / speedwork days, or any other suggestions? I think that's a great choice to kind of pair with your Brooks Ghost. So that could definitely work. If you like your Brooks and you like Brooks feel, the Brooks Launch I think could also be a good choice for you. What's the other one? The Revel. I have that one. No, I have the Ravenna. But the Revel, I think also a lot of people have been enjoying as well. I like my Ravenna too. I think that's what I have. It's been so long that I forget. But those are some Brooks options. I saw, what was it? Jamie had photos of his Brooks Levitate 3. And from his picture, it looked like they finally got rid of like the glossy midsole on the Levitate. And I was like, finally, they made one that looks good. But then I saw another photo of him like online, and it's like, oh, it's still glossy. It was just Jamie's picture. It made it look like matte or like a regular foam material. But I'm not running that one. But that's always one that I've been interested in if they ever make it not glossy. I think it makes it look like a cheesy shoe. Let's see. Jody runs Boston 9 for the low stack. I think that would count, and I think that would be that'd be a great low. If that's considered in the lower stack height, that'd be a great long run shoe for sure. Yeah, I should have thought about running in the Boston 9 for this 50K. I think that would have been a really good option for me. J. Mike Remy says, surprised you didn't change shoes at mile 20 or so. Felt like a fresh start for the last 1/3 of the 50K. I had thought about it. I thought about making like a little drop bag for myself and like hiding it somewhere in like the lobby of my building. So I didn't have to come like all the way upstairs. But I just wanted to keep it going. I kept thinking in my mind, it's only 8K more, I'm using air quotes there, it's only 8K more than a marathon, and I don't ever think about switching shoes in a marathon. I think maybe if I had a trail 50K where there's some climbing involved, then for sure, if there's a drop bag option, I'll put a different pair of shoes and probably other socks in there. so I can just feel a little bit fresher. Mr. Picos says, is the toe box fit of the Kinvara the same as the Freedom 3? No. I would say that the Freedom 3 is a lot roomier than the Kinvara. Frank LaHulia says, do you have a bunch of shoes you are waiting to run and still in the boxes? No. Sometimes I will, but usually that's when I'll get like, if you ever see on the channel, like there's a first run video and then you don't see about the shoe again for a while. That's because like I just get so excited when the shoe's in the box that I want to run in it right away. And then like I just don't have time to get to it because there's other things in the queue kind of. And so that's what happens with that. So basically there's not really a lot that just sit around. Once I get it, I want to make a video about it. Let's see. Raid Morris says, wasn't feeling like running, but this gave me the motivation. Awesome. Time to head out in the SL20s. Thanks for keeping these up. Awesome. Well, hope you have a good run. Gerard Segreles Madrid says, sorry, I've sent the same comment twice. No problem. That running guy says, better hope you don't hit 100K subs. 100K run. Well done on the 50K and subs. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, even 50K is a number that I never thought I would ever get to. I always just kind of figured once I got to like 35 or so, it would just kind of peter out. And I would reach this like equilibrium of people that like subscribe and people that are like, I can't stand this guy anymore. And so I thought I would just kind of hover around 35 for a long time. And so at this point, anything on that top of that is just like, well, I had no idea this would happen. And so if it gets to 100K, I still have a hard time like envisioning that. But if it gets there, I'll do 100K. I also am going to try to do the math for what 50 miles is. And maybe I'll do a run. But the 50 miles is near 100K. So maybe I'll just wait to the 100K to do that. So we'll see. Yeah. So let's see, where was I? Comments. All right. I forget where I was. I'm going to kind of pick up towards the end here because I'm going to wrap up soon. Martha says, the Revel 3 is now better than the Launch 7. I used to wear Launch up to version 6, and previous Revels were different shoes from version 3. Yeah, Martha, you've been mentioning that before with the Revel 3. It makes me really want to try that one, and I don't think that's the one that I have. I think I have the guide rail version of the Launch, which I think is the Ravenna. So that's the one I have, and that's one I've been kind of looking for in the abstract. I've been looking forward to it, but then it's like, but then there's this Hyperion Tempo shoe that's pretty fun, and then the New Balance Rebel, Fuel Cell Rebel, which is fun, and then the TC is fun, and then like all these fun shoes, and I'm like, and it's been 2 months, and I don't think I've run in that shoe. DW Running is worried about high stack heights and turning ankles on the uneven road surfaces in his area. By the way, math training is so slow for the long runs. Yeah. Yeah. The only shoe that's really bothered me lately has been the Fuel Cell TC. That shoe just feels really tall. The Nova Blast also has a pretty high stack height, and it's really squishy. So that's made me a little bit nervous as well. I've not had any I've not been worried about my ankles. I'm worried more about my knees, just like it making my knee have to work a little bit too hard to compensate for the balance issues. I'm also hoping that as I improve my balance issues by working on balance and overall like just strength and like the stabilizer strength, that like those concerns can also go away. Frank says, is there a way to have multiple shoes for one run in Strava? I don't think so. I think you'd have to break up the run to do that. I remember Seth had that problem before because he would do like a run where he would have like 3 or 4 laps of something, and to test shoes, he'd want to do different market in Strava as different shoes. But I don't think that's a feature that exists. Ted Root says, you look fresh. Thanks. It's because I've taken 2 naps today. Mark Rainey says, I'm not on Strava. You should post the Kofuzi 50K course and claim the FKT and watch it blow up when folks try to invest you. I don't think that would take very long. Not around here. There's a lot of good runners. Yeah, maybe that'd be pretty funny. Because it was 3 laps of my normal kind of like, I have like a loop that kind of looks like a lightning bolt that I like to do. It's almost, I think of it like a figure 8. And then I had to add some at the end of it to make it 50K. So I know it's not like, it's a route that doesn't make sense. It's kind of like I was looking up segments yesterday on Strava, and the name of a segment was like home to something else, like home to like a restaurant, you know, because they just picked for this segment was like out their door. I think someone wanted to be like, so that way when I get out the door, I just start running hard, you know. So someone had set it up that way. So that's the name of the segment. It's really funny. Um, yeah. Francisco, I like how you spelled that, says, what do you do with all your used shoes? I donate them to charity. I give them to the Salvation Army here. Usually after 100 miles, that's when I'll kind of put them aside because I feel like that's enough for me to get like not only like an initial sense of the shoe, but a longer term sense of the shoe. And then I donate to charity. And I hope that like someone who really needs good running shoes is finding them there. Cody says, do you have an extra selfie sticks that you're willing to sell but having trouble finding the right one? I don't, because I broke one. I had one extra, and then I broke my main one. So now I'm on my like one and only. And the link that I used to buy it, it still exists on Amazon, but now it's a different stick. And I hate it when sellers do that on Amazon. They replace like you can tell when it's been done because if you look in the comments or in the photos that users submit, and it's a different or slightly different product, it's a sign to me generally that the company is being shady. Because the reason why you do that is because it's kind of like you're using a popular listing to bolster a new listing instead of making a new listing and trying to make that one become successful. So I don't like it. I think Amazon needs to clean that up a lot. Let's see. Neil Clark Smith says 1080 version 10 Nova Blast or Peg 37 for long run slow days. Currently doing everything in the Turbo 2. You know, if you like the Turbo 2, the Nova Blast might be a good companion to go for your longer days. But for long slow, I'd probably reach for the 1080 V10. But the Nova Blast, I think, could be a really good kind of pairing with the Turbo 2 because that's a pretty squishy shoe as well. Chris Wallace's favorite hat for all the hot days? Anything like this. That's like trucker hat or like running material. So this is one of my favorite ones. I talked about it in the summer running essentials video where it's like the running or technical material that dries and wicks quickly, and then something ventilated on the backside. That's usually what I like, just because it's gonna get wet, it's gonna get gross. I'm not trying to make it so ventilated that I don't sweat in it. I want to make it so when I do sweat in it, it dries off quickly. Ted and Ruth says 50 miles equals 80K. Well, that's not too bad. Maybe that'll be like a nice like intermediate mark, or maybe at 75K I'll do another long run. But then at 75, I don't think there's such thing as a 75K race. So maybe I'll do a 50-mile race because I don't want to run that far alone again. You know, but it did make me think though that I would like to do longer training runs in my marathon blocks because I felt like what was really slowing me down towards the end is not my body was tired, but I had to really focus, and I'm out of practice on it because I'm not in a marathon training block right now, but I'm out of practice on like, you know, keeping my mind focusing on, you know, not positive thoughts, but productive thoughts versus like focusing on like how tired I am or how hard it feels. You know, so some of my normal mantras that I use are like, this is how it's supposed to feel. That is something that I had to focus on a lot. So I think that, you know, what was really slowing me down was how hard it felt. And so I feel like something that I can learn for my marathon racing is that, you know, if I can become more familiar with that feeling, you know, we do a lot of things that simulate that feeling in our training blocks, but if I actually be at that feeling in a way that's sustainable for training, I'm not sure how to do that or if it's possible or not, but something that I want to work on more so I can just have that mental training of like, okay, it hurts. It's supposed to hurt. It's okay. You know, my body is sending the appropriate signals, but this isn't like, you know, red alert, which my mind was kind of thinking. That's where my mind kept going. Like, red alert, you're going to have to start walking and you're going to crash soon. And I was like, no, I'm not. We're at fine. We're at mile 18. It's not a huge deal. There's a long way to go, but we'll be great. You know, so I kept having to like tell myself that. And that's something that I'm very much out of practice on. So I think I might do longer runs long, slow runs so that I can still recover relatively quickly in my marathon training. So that was eye-opening. But I still don't want to do I don't know that I want to do 30 miles by myself. Shannon said he did his 50K simultaneously with a friend over the phone, so he talked to each other through the hard parts. That I like. I like that. I'd like to figure out a way to be able to run on a treadmill, and do I still would really just love to be able to do Zwift live streams. I think that'd be fun, but I don't know how to do that. I think it'd be easier to do on a bike than on a treadmill, because the bikes are quieter. The treadmills are just so loud that it would make your audio would be difficult. Now I know there's a guy, I've seen videos, there's a guy that has a setup and it seems to work okay for him, so I'm trying to think about it more. He put green bed sheets all around his treadmill, and he does videos from his treadmill and green screens himself in places. It's really funny. I don't know if he's still doing it because all the videos that I saw were really old. But all right, let's grab one more comment and then I got to get going for today. Let's see. Darren Wynn says, what is your routine right before going on a run? And then after your run, diet, warm up, post stretch, etc. My normal routine, well, for today, what I did was I woke up, had a cup of coffee and sunflower butter, so sun butter and jelly sandwich. And then I pretty much headed out the door. And then afterwards, I just drank a lot of water because I was super thirsty. But normally I like to have some sort of protein to eat, or if I can't, then a protein shake. It doesn't have to be running specific all the time. Sometimes I do have a running specific one that I like, but a lot of times it's just maybe a protein shake. But if I could eat something, that's usually better. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, thanks so much everybody for tuning in today and hanging in there with all the technical difficulties. I apologize for that. But yes, CV76, happy hour tomorrow, 3 p.m. Chicago Central Time. I'll also be on Instagram tomorrow, 6 a.m. if you want to come hang out over there. Hope you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, everybody, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.